Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kauf and I'm the nerd on the street, and today we are unboxing an iMac G4. Okay everybody, I just want to address at the start of this video, I'm using my camera's internal microphone today, so the audio might not be as good as it normally is. Now I'm not going to try and drag my normal microphone setup over here. As you can see, I'm in a new location right now. I'll talk about that in an upcoming network update, but I'm also in my kitchen area, and that's because I wanted a little bit more space than my crammed desk with a bunch of different computers on it already for this particular video. This is going to be an unboxing, and you might be wondering, Jacob, why did you buy an iMac G4? Well, I actually didn't get this recently. If you're subscribed to my channel, you might remember my HP Pavilion 2500 series that I did earlier this year. I picked up a couple of very cheap laptops on eBay last Christmas of 2019, and I had them sitting in their boxes for 3 or 4 months until I got around to making a video about them. And I had a lot of fun doing those videos. I recorded them in 4K, which ended up being a mistake, so this video I'm recording in 1080p. But I actually got this iMac G4 at the exact same time that I got those two laptops. You see, I talked about in those videos, I'm not a big eBay person. You know, I don't go on eBay a whole lot. I don't like to buy used electronics normally. But when I signed up for an account to get those two laptops, one of the things I couldn't resist looking up just to see what was out there was the iMac G4. This is a classic Macintosh computer that I have wanted to own for a very long time. This is one of those computers that I love the design of it. Back when I was younger and I used to watch YouTube a lot more often, I would watch tons and tons of videos of people unboxing used iMac G4s and cleaning them up and making them run whatever versions of Mac OS are supported. And I haven't watched one of those videos in a really long time, and I don't watch a lot of YouTube in general anymore, but I was keeping this thing around to open up on a rainy day someday. I've got a long weekend right now, and I don't have, I've got a couple other videos planned for the next couple of months, but nothing in the pipeline, so I figured I've had this thing for 8 or 9 months now, 9 months at least. It's just been sitting in the shipping box. I don't even know what condition it's in. Now there is a caveat here, it doesn't boot. It does power on, and the reason why I got it, the seller said they don't know what's wrong with it. It could be as simple as needing a new hard drive and a new OS installation. And that's something I'm more than capable of doing. I've got extra SSDs, you know, in this apartment. I can throw a new drive in here, and I don't know if I have any of my Mac OS installed disks, and that'll be one thing I'll have to look for. But yeah, even if it doesn't work in this video, I'm still very excited to see the design. I'm gonna start cutting some tape here. I'm thinking that I might just keep this thing out here in the kitchen sort of as a decoration, you know, because this is a really nice looking computer. You'll see what it looks like when we open it up. Extremely iconic design. Years ago, toward the beginning of this channel, I had a friend in high school. Their parents gave me a bunch of old PowerPC era Macs, and that included 2 iMac G3s that I still have to this day. It included the PowerMac G3. I later ended up coming across a PowerMac G4 from a different person, and I've made videos about all of this stuff in the past. But one Mac that I've never owned is an iMac G4, and I'm really excited about it. It's just been sitting around so long that I've kind of lost some of the excitement just because, I don't know. I was really excited when I bought it, and then those HP videos took a lot out of me. They were very long, involved a lot of editing and technical issues with the 4K footage. So I am just trying to get this tape open here. There we go, okay. And one of the reasons why this was such a good deal on eBay, once again, it was, I don't remember how much I paid for it, not very much, but it comes in the original iMac G4 packaging, which is probably even more rare than the computers themselves at this point, because a lot of people buy computers and they throw away the boxes. This comes in its original box. And it also, I think it includes a keyboard and mouse and speakers, if I'm remembering correctly. Like I said, it was a long time ago, so it'll be a surprise to me when we see what's in here. Alright, and I can already see the box peeking out the top here. Very exciting. Another shout out to another YouTube channel, It's My Natural Color. He's a YouTuber who has done a lot of classic Mac stuff, and I was watching some of his videos just the past couple of days to get into the mood for this one. So basically, this box is not really a box I'm planning on repurposing, so I might just try and cut the entire thing off. Boy, absolutely a lot of tape on this thing, but I think we are getting there. Alright, at this point I'm just going to go ahead and destroy this box because I'm not planning on reusing the outer box. Like I said, if anything's wrong with this, it's been too long to open a dispute or anything anyway, and I'm not going to be shipping this thing. So, there we go. That's going to be the easiest way to get this thing out. This thing was packaged, upright, so I was the one who I actually tilted it a little bit while I was moving it from my previous apartment into this new apartment, and when I did that I heard something sort of fall inside of the box. So yeah, we'll see what condition everything's in when we get into here, but here is the outer box, or I guess the inner box for the iMac. This is a 17-inch model as well. Now those of you who aren't familiar, and this is the design of the Mac, you might be starting to recognize it now. It's got sort of a circular base. And then the iMac G3 was a CRT. This was the first iMac with a flat screen. You can see it's got this arm that attaches, and there's multiple different sort of overlaid images here to demonstrate that you can move the panel anywhere that you want to. You can, turn it to point in different directions. You can adjust the height and the angle. It's actually much more adjustable than today's iMacs. Which the current design for iMac started right after this one. The iMac G5 was the first one that had just a hinge that you can tilt up and down, is what you get on an iMac today. But this one was much more flexible because you could actually move the display any which direction that you wanted to, which is just incredible. Now most of these things were 15-inch. And that was one of the reasons when I saw this one, it had the original packaging and some of the accessories, and it was a 17-inch model. So a slightly larger display. It's going to look so nice, and whether I end up using it as like just a digital picture frame or something simple like that, I really do think it's going to look awesome. Alright, so I'll just slide it out here, out of that larger box, and I'll actually go back and we'll just pull this larger box out of the way. Gonna have to break it down and throw that away later. Alright, so let's take a closer look at this box all the way around. Boy, this is really... Alright, there we go. I've tried to get the lighting a little bit better in here. Now I've got shadows, but it's not going to be perfect. So this is just one arbitrary side of the box, but if we turn it here, I can sort of start to see some things inside of the box. This is a sticker, PC connection, Mac connection. So this is probably the company either who was the original retailer when this machine was sold to its first owner, or it might be, if the person I bought this from on eBay got it used, this might have been the company, and they left the shipping label from when it was shipped to them originally. I won't try and peel it off right now. Down here we've got an actual sticker from Apple. It says designed by Apple in California, iMac G4, possibly a serial number there. It's got the model number M6498. Computer assembled in USA, and then obviously not fully manufactured in the USA. Here's a nice front picture of the machine. I'm so excited to see if this thing turns on. The Apple logo in the picture, it almost seems stretched wide. And the 17-inch was one of the first widescreen Macs. It was the first widescreen iMac because the 15-inch was a similar height, but it was just a couple inches narrower and not as wide. So yeah. Then the other side here, we've got a nice close-up of where that stand attaches to the base, which we'll see in a moment. I do want to take the camera off the tripod for just a moment. So up here on top of the box, you can see we've got a sticker with the original specifications for this machine and the light glinting off of it there. And here we've got once again, another picture, and they really liked those overlays. They don't come across well on camera, I think, but they really liked to overlay several different positions of the display to demonstrate that you can move it around. But as you can see, this is an iMac 17-inch. It's got a 1 gigahertz G4 processor in it, which PowerPC processors are now 2 generations behind what's about to be the newest, because Apple is switching away from Intel processors and going to their own ARM-based silicon. But this was before they were using Intel at all. PowerPC G4, and it's 1 gigahertz, which is on the higher end for those. 256 kilobytes of on-chip level 2 cache, running at 1 gigahertz, so that's on the processor. This machine was shipped with 256 megabytes of RAM, and it was original DDR version 1 RAM. It can have a maximum of 1 gigabyte of RAM. We'll see how much is actually in there right now. This came with an 80 gigabyte hard drive. We'll probably put an SSD in there if anything's wrong with the hard drive. This does have a super drive, so it can play back DVDs in addition to CDs. And the speakers that came with it, I understand, are pretty good for, you know, their size and everything, so we'll see how those sound. 17-inch widescreen LCD display. Once again, this was the first iMac with an LCD display because they were all CRT before that. We've got NVIDIA GeForce graphics processor, so it did have NVIDIA graphics. Another thing you don't see in current day Macs. They're all AMD and Intel these days. But 64 megabytes of VRAM. We've got a built-in 56K modem for dial-up internet, and it looks like it came with a telephone cable too. We've got 10100 Ethernet, so not gigabit, but up to 100 megabits per second. It says ready for Airport Extreme wireless networking, so it has a slot where you can install an Airport Extreme wireless card, but it did not have a wireless card pre-installed. It was just an after-purchase upgrade that you can make if you wanted to. 2 FireWire 400 ports, 5 USB ports, which is a decent amount, which includes, the 5 includes 2 on the included keyboard, has a hub on it. So it would only have 3 USB ports on the machine, which is interesting to word it that way because I wonder if there's 3 or if there's 4, because the keyboard itself with its 2 USB port hub would obviously take up one of the slots or one of the ports on the machine itself. I'm really trying to avoid, I know you're looking at shadows right now because I'm holding the camera and there's a light sort of above us here. But you can see easy access for memory and Airport Extreme card installation, so they touted how serviceable this thing was, or at least expandable. Once you get beyond just the obvious things like those, then it's not as easy to open up, I would bet. We do have an integrated microphone, no integrated webcam, but it did have a built-in microphone at least. An Apple speaker mini jack, which I have not heard of before, but we do also have a 3.5mm headphone jack and an audio line-in jack. It did come with Apple Pro speakers, like I mentioned, and those should be in this box. VGA video output, so analog output, and then S-video and composite video output as well, with some disclaimers that we'll see in a moment. It did come with the Apple Pro keyboard and the Apple Pro mouse, which we'll see what those look like. I think I've got an Apple Pro mouse already, one of the gray ones, but this one, I don't know, we'll see what it looks like. It came with 30 days of free Earthlink internet access and Microsoft Internet Explorer on your Mac, which is, once again, interesting notes for the times. Included software, macOS, QuickTime, iCal, iChat, so they're just listing all the stuff that come with macOS. It did come with AOL, which is something that my family used to use. It came with AppleWorks, which is an Office suite. Quicken 2003 Deluxe in North America only for some reason. So accounting software. Sound Studio World Book 2003 edition. I think that's some sort of either an atlas or almanac or something like that. Mac OS 10 Chess. Auto Magic, I don't know what that is. It came with Demos Rising, so just some video games it looks like. And then Adobe Reader and a fax program. And this does meet Energy Star specifications. So at least at the time it was power efficient, probably not very power efficient compared to today's computers. The backlight lamp in this product contains mercury, so you don't want to throw this in the regular trash. Okay, so here's the disclaimers. They specify what a gigabyte is. They call a gigabyte 1 billion bytes, and not the 1024, 8-based system. They disclaim that your actual modem speeds for dial-up internet are going to be lower than what they advertise. Wireless internet access requires the Airport Extreme card and an Airport Extreme base station or airport base station. Some ISPs are not currently compatible. Can you imagine having to worry about if your ISP is compatible with your wireless access point? Not sure exactly what they meant by that. Apple Video adapter required to connect to TV. Internet access requires a compatible ISP. And then they've got software license agreements. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys the sticker on the top there, and it looks like there's tape here that might be original tape because that doesn't quite line up, but it looks like that was like a factory seal that was on here when this was originally sold once again. So yeah, I'm very excited. There's nothing on the other part of the box, but we're gonna set the camera back onto the tripod. Just wanted to show you guys all that cool detail there, and we'll go ahead and cut this thing open and we will see what state, like I said, everything is in. This could very easily turn into one of those videos where it turns out there's not even an iMac in here, it's just a bunch of rocks. Because once again, this was like 8 months ago I bought this thing. Or more like 9 or 10 months ago, really. Because I got it leading up to Christmas. Alright. Box is open. So excited to see what's in here. Okay. I remember the seller saying something about this, about how it was inside of a box with more foam and then another box. I was kind of expecting some foam outside of this box, but we do have a non-original Apple box inside of here that you'll see. Well actually, I'm just confused in general. I want to show you guys what I'm seeing right now. Alright, so here's what we're looking at. We've got a Sony, looks like DVD player box, so I'm not sure what's inside of there. Now what confuses me more, if the computer was inside of here and there was foam, that would be fine, but it looks like there is an actual electronic product out here. Is that a keyboard? That might be a keyboard. All right, let's see how all of this comes out of the box here. Trying to figure out the best way to capture this. I know it's a weird angle. Okay, so all right, so here we've got a piece of an iMac box or packaging, and there's some scuffs here or there, but this is what the Apple Pro Mouse looks like. So it looks like this is very similar to the one that I already have. It might be a little bit more white instead of gray. Set that off to the side. Oh, okay, so this Sony thing, I thought that was a bigger box. As you can see, it's just there, and it feels empty, actually. I'm gonna cut this open just for kicks, but I think this was just there to keep things from bouncing around too much. It was sort of padding, which I appreciate. The seller's listing made a big deal about how much packaging they would use. Alright, yeah, this is just an empty box, so more cardboard for me to break down. I've been doing a lot of that the past couple of weeks. Alright, and inside of here is the computer itself. And I don't want to tilt it, but for a third time I'll take you guys in to see how we're packed here. So this is what the packaging looks like. This was what I was seeing sticking out, and that's actually the display. So there is about an inch of clearance between the display and the side of the box, so you do want to be, careful transporting these. The stand is sitting there inside of its foam. I think this is where the speakers should have been, and I don't remember. The speakers might not be included in this. I don't know. There is an Apple Pro Mouse, and that is white as opposed to the gray from my other one. There's a ball of dust or something there next to it, and there's some cables. So yeah, let's start pulling things out of the box here. Alright, so here's some foam that comes off the top. Set that over off to the side. Boy, I don't know, I've never seen one of these in person, and I don't know if the stand, it seems like it's bigger than I was expecting it to be. I don't know if the stand was actually bigger on the 17-inch model, or if it's this large on all models, and it's just larger than I thought because I've never seen one. But I obviously haven't seen a 15-inch model to compare. So I'm gonna lift this thing up, and we'll set that down on the counter. Okay, and here is my new iMac G4. You can see we're looking at the back of it right now. Here's where the ports are. I can tilt and show you guys. Yeah, there's a Kensington lock, so you can lock this thing to a desk or other furniture to keep it from getting stolen. This thing it's pretty dirty, and I was kind of prepared for that, and I actually have to go out and get some cleaning supplies because I'm kind of low on that stuff right now. Here's a FireWire port, 3 USB ports, So yeah, when they say you've got 5 USB ports, including the 2 on the keyboard, you've actually got 4, including the 2 on the keyboard, because the keyboard will take up one of these. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a display port. I looked at that wrong. These are the 2 FireWire ports. And then we've got power here. There's your telephone line, and then your RJ45 Ethernet port there. And then here we've got our audio. So we've got the Apple connector, I guess, and then the 2 standard 3.5mm connectors. And then here's our power button over there. Boy, there is a lot of dirt on the inside of this box here. I might have to break out a vacuum later. I was just taking a look in there again, but we'll zoom out here, and you can see the display currently inside of some, boy, and this is, I don't know how loose or how firm this is supposed to feel, but you can see I can put the display anywhere, and when my hand comes off of it, it's a little loose from being so old. But yeah, the display, you can pretty much set it wherever you want, you can turn it, and that kind of thing. Like I was saying earlier, there is a sticker here. Obviously it's been broken already, but they saved, the original owner of this machine clearly cared about saving some of that packaging and stuff like that. Please read the software license agreements before using this Apple product, it says. We can sort of peel that off carefully. So there that goes, and then there's a bit more adhesive holding the rest of that foam on. We will zoom this out, and I want to turn it around so we see the front of it when we take that foam off. So here in the front, if I lift this up a little bit more, you can sort of start to see the display peeking out from underneath that foam. But this is where the super drive is. This is larger than a DVD or a CD would be. Yeah, I don't know if the whole design was always like this, but let's just take the foam off to start with. Alright. Oh, and there's more foam inside of that cover. Nice. Yeah, and this is definitely going to need a good once-over with some alcoholic wipes and things like that, because it is very dirty. I don't know how much the dirt is coming across on camera. But I'll take that rubber band off. Rubber band probably was not here originally, but you can see we've got most of the original foam. Yeah, it looks like this side of it, this is an original ending to this piece of foam, but this side's broken off. So that's probably why they had to use, this probably originally was like a full square, and that bottom piece probably broke off when the original owner unboxed it. So that's interesting. And here we have the iMac. Yeah, there's smudges on the screen. I see some smudges that I can almost certainly take off of there pretty easily. There we go, you can catch that in the light. Down here there is what appears to be either a crack or some sort of corrosion in the plastic. Not sure how easy that one is to see on camera. But overall, this is very neat. You can see the Apple logo there. It seems like whoever was doing the box, let me zoom out so you can actually see the Apple logo that I'm pointing to. Whoever made the graphics on the box, it did seem like it was more stretched out on the box than it is in person. Although once again, this base, this is taller than I expected it to be, and it's wider than I expected it to be. It's just larger in general, never having seen one of these before. So yeah, this is the famed iMac G4 display. Once again, current present day iMacs, you can tilt them, but you can't move them up and down like this. This one you can set it lower, you can set it higher, and you can also turn it without having to actually turn the base. And it goes all the way, that's 45 degrees, yeah, it goes, so it's 45 degrees left and right, or maybe a little bit more than 45 degrees left and right. You can go all the way the other direction. And yeah, you can set it wherever you want. Like I said, I can kind of feel it moving a little bit when I let go of it because it is so old, and I don't know the mechanisms and how easy they are to adjust. But yeah, if we turn it around again, you can see the nice Apple logo on the back of the screen there. And yeah, this is what that arm looks like. And it's just, I don't know how they designed this. These days people pay a lot for Apple's stands. They've got the Apple Pro stand for their Apple Pro monitor, and people made fun of, oh, you know, you're gonna pay 10 grand for a display and then you're gonna pay another $1,000 just for a stand. And people are kind of making fun of that. But the Apple Pro display stand, from what I saw, it kind of reminded me of this, where it gives you more degrees of adjustability. And yeah, it's just, you know, my display, it's not a bad display. I paid $800 or so for my current monitor, and I can move it up and down. But it's really stiff and jerky when I do that. It's hard to get it exactly where I want it sometimes. Whereas this thing, it's just so, I mean, it just takes a very light touch to move it at all. And the entire display starts moving. So yeah, very, very cool display and mechanism there. Yeah, I'm excited to see how much it actually works. I'm definitely gonna need to clean it up. But you can see that this thing is very much, you know, it's got this nice clear plastic surrounding the white bezel. Definitely a classic design. It's not a computer design you'd see today, but it fits in very well with my furniture. And that was why I thought I would finally unbox it and have it maybe off to the side on this large counter that I've got, just as a display piece, since it does look so nice, like I said, after I clean it up a bit. So let's see what else is inside the box. I'm gonna go ahead and take a paper towel and try and get some of these larger pieces of just dirt out of here. I think I have a vacuum in my car, but it's not in here right now, so I have to forego that. Alright, so let's move the iMac a little bit farther back here. And when you're servicing these things, I think that you can place it so that the display is facing a hard surface with like a softer cloth covering on it, and then the base lifts up, because you actually turn the bottom of this base and remove it, and that's how you access the RAM. The drive might be a little bit more complicated, but the RAM in that airport card that they mentioned, you have to set this thing so that you can access the very bottom of this base. So in here we've got the original, this is a telephone cable, and I recognize one of these. Definitely Apple branded. I've never seen one look this interesting before, but this would be for your dial-up internet if you had that, which obviously I don't. Here is our Apple Pro mouse that they mentioned. And yeah, just like mine, the plastic covering, you can see it's got the mouse and the hard plastic itself, and then it's got a clear plastic layer over it. And it looks very, very cool. This is a lighter color, and then on the bottom you've got, it's a laser mouse, so this was not the mechanical ball wheel mouses that you used to have. But there is a circular slider here that you can use to adjust the actual sensitivity of the mouse, which is pretty neat. Here I did happen to have my own Apple Pro mouse that I already had sort of available, so I grabbed that just to compare. So these are both Pro mouse. They both say Pro mouse, designed by Apple in California. And they both even have the same part number, 3892P902, although the part numbers are written in slightly different places, as you can see. But yeah, this was just two different colors of the same product. Even back then you could get, you know, the same thing in multiple colors. So the one that I had was a little bit more gray. I think this came with a Power Mac G4, or one of the G4 lines. Well, this is a G4 line, but it's obviously white, and it's not as much in the high-end sector, although it came with the quote-unquote Pro mouse. So yeah, very interesting difference there. Mine seems a lot darker now looking at this new one in comparison. If you had asked me how similar they were, I probably would have thought they were more similar color than they actually are. So yeah, that is very cool. We've got the mouse with it, so I'll set that off to the side. We've got some styrofoam, or whatever this is called, and I think the mouse was supposed to be in that, but it wasn't. And here we've got power cable, original Apple power cable, it looks like. These power cables clean up really easily. I just need, like I said, I need to go out and get some of those alcohol wipes for like glasses and things, because I find that those work fairly well. But yeah, this is a standard. It looks like a, what is it, C5 cloverleaf power connector, and then we've got standard 3-prong power cable on the other side. And that's a decent length, it seems like, for a desktop computer's power cable. This is very interesting. We've got two Apple stickers, and at this point the top one is very dirty, and that seems like that's scratched up, so that's not just dirt that'll, you know, come off. The bottom one seems to be in pretty good condition. Apple, I think they still ship Apple stickers with all their products. I haven't gotten an Apple product in a long time. Last time I did, it was an iPod Touch Generation 4, and that one came with Apple stickers, and my iPod Touch Gen 2 also came with Apple stickers. I think that the headphones I got came with some smaller Apple stickers, but the Macs always came with the larger size. So yeah, this is the first full-size Macintosh Apple stickers that I've ever had, because I've never bought a Mac directly from Apple, and they actually saved them all this time, and so I've got those now. I probably won't stick them onto anything. Yeah, like I said, the top one, it's almost a shame they didn't use it because it's gotten ruined anyway, but the bottom one looks like it's in pretty good condition, and the rest of the paper you can see is just absolutely disgusting with all that dust and dirt there. But yeah, gotta give them credit for such a good preservation job. And finally, inside of some more bubble wrap, oh interesting, here's where that little bit of foam is that was missing earlier, or no, that's not all the foam because neither of these are a clean end, but that's some of that foam that was broken off of the bezel cover. And then here, inside of some more bubble wrap, is the Apple Pro keyboard. I've heard a lot of good things about these Apple Pro keyboards. Now, I'm a fan of chiclet keyboards, so I don't obsess over the older Apple keyboards that used to be more standard. Although my current keyboard on my main setup is an Apple aluminum keyboard, which is one of the flat chiclet ones. Alright, we will try and unwrap this thing here. And it does look like there is no... Yeah, this foam is the only other thing that was in that whole box. That's where the base was sitting and everything. So I'll slide that back in. So we don't have speakers, which is a little bit of a shame. I remember seeing some eBay listings that did have speakers, but they were for like 15 inches and ones that didn't work at all, whereas this one I'm crossing my fingers that it'll be simple, because they had a picture of it on eBay and the screen was turned on, it just had the no OS found icon on it, which I can totally fix, you know, if it's just a bad drive. Super easy. So I'm crossing my fingers that that'll be an easy project, easy fix. But here, seems like our tape is still constricting us a bit. There we go. Just gonna peel the rest of that tape off there. I can get more clear packing tape that's not rare or anything like that. So I'll set that over there and I'll throw that away later. And then here, which direction does this want to come out? Come on. There we go. Alright, so here is an Apple Pro keyboard. It's almost getting stuck inside of this bubble wrap. There we go. Got it. So here's an Apple Pro keyboard. Alright. Initial impression, this is also my first time seeing one of these particular keyboards. I had some older G3 keyboards, and I even had some G4 keyboards, but not this particular G4 keyboard. The ones that I had more of a bezel, and they weren't quite as wide, even though they did have, I believe the keyboards that I had a number pad. I'm not sure if they actually had the arrow keys in there. I mean, the shift key looks very long, you know, left to right, compared to what you get on a lot of standard keyboards. And then we've got this gap in between the number pad and our arrow keys, and then another similarly sized gap between the arrow keys and the standard QWERTY keyboard. The bezel is pretty much non-existent. That's very striking. You know, there's no space between the edge of this key and the edge of the keyboard. That is the edge of the keyboard there. So that is very interesting. Very interesting. And here's, you know, USB cable. It's white. It has an Apple logo on one side, USB logo on the other. Here's those two USB ports. So this thing has a hub built in, and you can plug in two things in here. I normally don't plug in storage drives into hubs like this, although trying to remember if the other Apple keyboards that I have provided power to flash drives and things like that. I think I've plugged flash drives in with some success. This is still that same design, this whole iMac G4, you know, the whole product here with the mouse and the keyboard and the display. We've got this theme of the plastic itself, or the inner plastic is white, and then we've got clear plastic surrounding the white plastic to sort of create this illusion that things are floating, you know, and it's really, really nice. This is disgusting. There's a fly or something inside of that keyboard there. Yeah, and there's lots of dirt and stuff in here, so I'm not sure. It's gotta be possible to take these things completely apart. I don't know how far I wanna go with doing that. Yeah, on the bottom here you can see there are 3 screws along the bottom, although they look like they're those hexagon screws and not regular Phillips screws. And then we've got some rubber stoppers that keep the keyboard from sliding around. The bottom of this thing looks gorgeous. This is not dirty at all. At least the inner part. The deal with the clear plastic over the white plastic, since the white plastic is protected by another layer of clear plastic, the inside white plastic you can tell is pristine, but then the outer clear plastic does get, you know, it gets scratched and just dirty in general over time. All right. Whew. So that is an unboxing. Like I said, I've had this thing sitting for so long, and I didn't even know if there was an iMac in that box, like I said, so very excited about this thing. At this point, I'm gonna wanna clean this before I start actually using it, because I'm kind of, you know, I like my electronics to be clean, and this is, I keep saying the word, it is disgusting though. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm going to probably run out, grab some of those alcohol wipes so that I can clean this a bit better. I've heard magic erasers work really well on this particular era of equipment, so I might see if I can grab one of those from a store later. But yeah, for right now, yeah, no speakers, but there are speakers built into this thing. I think that's why I wasn't too concerned if it had speakers or not. It would have been a nice bonus because the speakers look nice. They would have matched with the white and clear plastic theme and all that. But there are speakers built in, and this is quite a large bass, so we'll see what they sound like later. I'll have to see what installation media I have. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause the camera for now, and then we'll be back in a bit once I have a chance to clean everything up a little. Alright guys, and it is very much later in the day. I had some trouble finding the lens wipes that I normally use, which are just these standard Zeiss lens wipes. They have an alcoholic liquid in them, which apparently means that everybody's just been stocking them up and clearing the shelves of them due to Corona Fest this year. I did manage to locate some at a local store though, and I have begun cleaning up the iMac itself. I have to say it is cleaning up very nicely. I can still probably do a little bit more on the LCD screen itself. Down here I realized this, what I thought was a hole or some kind of scratch in the plastic. I think that's actually where the microphone is. If I zoom in a lot more here, like I said, there's no webcam in this thing, so normally you'd expect, if the camera wants to focus here, there we go. Normally you would expect for the microphone pinhole to be up in the top middle of a display with the webcam, but since there is no webcam, I think they just stuck the microphone right here. I can't really think why else there would be a hole in that particular location on the screen. But overall the base is looking very nice. The logos and everything are nice and shiny again. I have not turned it over yet, and we'll do that in a little bit. But first, I wanted to address this keyboard. Now, I'm not looking forward to this a whole lot, but we do need to clean this thing out. Like I said, if I tilt this thing up, you can see what is actually a dead fly inside of the keyboard. Now, I may not be planning on using this keyboard all the time. I've heard people who really like these keyboards. It's a little bit mushy for my taste, and I'm not a big fan of larger keyboards. Like I said, I like chiclet, low-profile keyboards myself. However, if this thing's gonna be in my apartment at all, I do want it to be clean. So, in order to thoroughly clean this thing out, I'm actually going to open it up. And I did do some more research on this thing. Now, I called it an Apple Pro keyboard, and I thought that's what the box called it, but it is just a regular Apple keyboard. It's not an Apple Pro keyboard. The model number is written down here. It's A1048, and so that was useful for looking up guides on how to open this keyboard up, and it should actually be fairly simple with those 3 Torx screws. I said they were hex earlier, but they're actually not, they're Torx. But anyway, we're gonna open this thing up. I'm actually going to take all the keys out of it first though, and we're going to do a thorough key-by-key cleaning of this keyboard. Now, I've attempted this once before with one of the older G3 keyboards that I had, and it did not go well. I ended up losing one of the arrow keys when I did that. And it's funny because I lost one of the arrow keys, or I thought I lost one of them, Then I got less careful, ended up losing a second one. Later I found the first one, so if I had stayed careful, I would still have a complete keyboard, but since I got lazy after I lost one key, I'm like, well, now I don't even have the full set. And then I ended up losing another one permanently. So I'm going to be more careful with this one. We're going to take all the keys off here on the counter, and then I'm going to, when I do clean them, see, people say that you're supposed to soak these in water with Windex or some sort of cleaner like that. I cannot find any cleaners for the life of me. At the Walmarts, Targets, like everybody's out of stock, which doesn't even make sense because Windex doesn't even disinfect. But people are still, I mean, I don't know if people are actually stocking them up. I'm pretty sure all of the big box chains, just their supply chain managers, have just gotten lazy because they can use CoronaFest as an excuse to not do their jobs and keep things in stock at their stores. But we're gonna take all the keys off. I'm gonna clean it as best I can with a couple of lens wipes and just microfiber cloth and water, whatever I can do. I didn't end up getting a magic eraser. Probably could have found one of those if I had tried a little harder. But I've always done with less than the tools that I have now. So just grab my knife over here and we're gonna start by popping all of the keys out of the keyboard one at a time. Like I said, the reason I'm not looking forward to doing this is because I think it is going to get a little bit gross with all of the gunk from under these, but that's exactly why we need to do it. So, going to try not to break any keys. There we go. Yeah, so most of these keys are plastic and they just are plastic on the bottom. Some of the longer ones, like the spacebar, have metal brackets that you have to be a little bit more careful with. You can already see down here all that dirt that's just sitting there next to where I just popped that key out of. I did just realize I forgot to turn the extra lights on, so I've just done that. But yeah, at this point we're just gonna go through and pop all the keys off first thing, and I'll set them off actually to the side away from the sink. I did do a little bit more research on the particular model. I obviously researched this machine when I bought it. I researched everything that I purchased, but like I said, it was a while ago when I did buy it. So I had forgotten exactly what model of iMac I had purchased. It is a G4, obviously it's the 1 gigahertz model, which is the second to fastest model that they sold of the 17-inch version of the iMac G4, with the fastest version being a 1.25 gigahertz. There we go. Look at how disgusting all of this is. It's exactly why we're cleaning it. Man, I gotta power through this here. So yeah, second to, and there's the fly. I'm just gonna go ahead and actually, there's a reason I'm doing this sort of near the sink, so I can kind of dump the dirt down. All right, well, the good news is we're already making big progress in terms of cleaning this thing, because that's already one of the grossest things out of it. And I'll continue taking the keys off. Right, so second highest, so I don't like getting super low power machines, obviously. And with retro stuff, it's not as important to have super fast processors because I'm not gonna be doing video editing on a G4 processor anyway. It's just simply too old, and it's not a relevant processor for any sort of serious work anymore. However, I still like to have, the fastest that I can have, and this is close to it. Like I said, it could have had a 1.25 gigahertz processor, but they made several other slower models. So the 1 gigahertz, we're doing pretty well having that in there. I should probably clean my regular keyboard out more often than this, but it doesn't get as gross since it is, it's narrower, there's not as much space for dirt in it, and then it's solid aluminum, which I do prefer the look of aluminum to this old plastic stuff for what I'm actually using day to day. But like I said, this is gonna look very nice once we have it all clean as sort of a display piece. You're a nerd when you're using computers as display pieces in your home. I did read a couple of guides online for cleaning out this specific A1048 keyboard, and people said that you should pop the keys off from the side to help avoid breaking the clips. So that is what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm gonna, I guess I'm just gonna sacrifice a couple of lens wipes and clean this thing as much as humanly possible once all these keys are off. Let me get some paper towels. Pick some of this loose dirt away. It's already coming out. I don't know how you even let a keyboard get this dirty. This thing must have, I'm thinking it was either a school unit of some sort based on how dirty the screen and the keyboard is. I'm thinking it was either some sort of educational institution where it was, available for public use, or perhaps it was just in storage in some sort of non-climate controlled like garage or something where bugs and things could get into it and dirty things up. Because like I've got a lot of old computers, and some of them are sitting back at my parents' houses in St. Louis, but I'm fairly certain none of them are as dirty as this. I do have a couple in a garage that I'm a little bit worried about, including one of those iMac G3s that I have, one of the blue indigo iMac G3s. One of them is indoors, and then the other one is at a different house in a garage. So that one might be ruined, but gotta deal with the space that I have available to store things. Boy, I'm glad I'm doing this, because I would not have been able to keep this thing in my apartment here, knowing how much crud was in there. I know that picking keys off of keyboards isn't the most entertaining thing to watch, but since this is a large portion of the video here is the whole cleanup process, I wanted to include it. Some people swear by these older Apple keyboards, and the keys on this one do feel a bit mushy. I'll have to see what it actually feels like to use. I know a decent number of people think that I'm crazy for preferring my super flat keyboard, and I don't like the newer Apple keyboards, like the ones that are in stores right now. They have switches that are much less deep, and I like chiclet keyboards, but I do like the keys to actually push down when I press them. The newer ones barely move at all, so yeah, I'm not a fan of those, but I'm not a fan of mechanical keyboards either that have a ton of travel. I kind of just like a nice balance where I can press a key, not have it make percussive noises when I press a key, but also be able to feel myself pressing it at least. All right, we got 5 rows done, another row to go, and then the arrow key section and the number pad over there. Yeah, it would have been nice if I could find some cleaner to actually properly soak these keys in, because that would have been a much more surefire way to make sure they're actually clean than going through individually key by key and cleaning them. And with CoronaFest, we're supposed to stay inside, so I try staying inside doing a project, and the supplies for the project are not available. You wonder why people aren't staying inside. This has been easier popping all these keys off than I thought it would be. All right, just the number pad left to go. You can see how much more dirty the main section of the keyboard was than even just the arrow key section and the home page up, page down. Since that stuff's not used as much, there's not as much dirt sitting underneath it. Number pad will probably be somewhere in between. That's pretty dirty. Just that first key that I popped off. If I can get a better angle, I don't know. Even if you could see this any clearer right now, that would just kind of make it worse for you, I think. And the volume keys. And of course the eject key, which you won't find on many PC keyboards. All right, well that is still gross. Very, very dirty. We're gonna clean all that up. First though, I do want to turn it over, and because we can actually remove the white membrane from the clear plastic entirely. I'm just gonna put some paper towel down here, because I don't want all of that on my counter, all that dirt we're looking at. Okay, so I was just giving it a shake out first, and then we'll set that down. Now I do have, I've got a set of screwdriver heads from college, and one of them said T5, and this is apparently a Torx 5 screw that this model uses. And that is extremely easy. That screw just came right out. Okay, so we'll set that off to the side. My screwdriver is showing a little bit of wear with the head falling out of the handle. Unscrew the middle one. Yeah, so the actual Apple Pro keyboard is more difficult than this to take apart. It actually requires taking some screws out that were underneath keys, and punching through the label as well for a hidden screw there. But this one, it's just the three screws, and then, yeah, I can feel that white plastic membrane coming out. Okay, interesting. And then we've got ribbon cables, which I know how to work. I'm gonna be careful with that, though. All right, we're gonna flip this thing back over. This is so gross. Okay. And did I miss a key, or what is this? It says up. Not sure what that is, so I'm gonna set that off to the side for safekeeping, and then let me pop this back up. I needed a better angle to get it. Oh, better angle to get at those ribbon cables. Okay, all right. Here we go. Okay, so here we've got our ribbon cables. I don't know if they're actually zero force insertion or if they're some other weird Apple proprietary ribbon cable. Are there latches I can flip up? Because normally that's how ribbon cables work. No, I just gotta pull them. Okay, well, there's the membrane out of the keyboard. And then here's so it's not all the white plastic that came out. There's still some white plastic along with the electronic board there that connects to the computer. And you can see the difference in white between the USB cable inside of the keyboard and then once it gets outside the keyboard, all that extra dirt. All right, so at this point, I'm going to try and clean up all the dirt and insects and other things that are sitting around this thing. When I'm done cleaning it all up and making it look nice, I'll put it back together, then we'll turn the camera back on to take another look at the computer itself. All right, guys, it is a number of hours later. It's a little past 1 a.m., so I'm gonna try and keep the volume down a little bit here. But I wanted to show you where we're at. So I've been at this for a very long time now. Back over here on the counter, you can see all of the keys have at this point been individually, they've been soaked in batches. I started putting them in a plastic tray with a little bit of dish soap, letting them sit for a little bit, and then individually taking them out, rinsing them, drying them, and then setting here to further dry. So those are going to be ready to pop back into the keyboard tomorrow or later today, I guess. As you can see, I have taken the keyboard apart further. This is just a plastic tray. So I mentioned how the clear plastic and the white plastic were still together, and I did figure out how to separate them. That was pretty easy. It was just these 3 Phillips screws, if you can see those sitting there on the counter. So I was able to do that. I don't think I can get the USB cord out of that plastic piece. I think they terminated the USB cable after that cable had been put in there or something, because that's not gonna fit. But as you can see, the electronic controller for the keyboard that includes the 2-port USB hub, that is separate, so I'm going to be able to run this underwater as well to clean that out a bit. Over here, this is the white tray. This is where a lot of the dirt was sitting, and I'm very happy I was able to get that out separately, because that means that I was able to actually put it underneath running water with some soap and actually clean it very nicely. You can sort of now see where it's sort of yellowed, where it's going to be exposed to light, because that's where it has been exposed to light. So it's yellowed over the years where it's more pure white underneath where the keys normally sit. Here, currently in this tray, are the switches for the keyboard. Those are the rubber switches. Those are what actually pop the keys back up when you push them. And I took those out by accident because they were sitting in all these little holes, and I didn't even realize this is where they were sitting. I didn't realize that they were separate pieces from this. I'm not a keyboard expert. I don't do keyboard stuff a whole lot. So I turned this over to clean it and ended up dumping all these switches into the sink, which very fortunate that none of them went down the drain. I picked them all back up and counted them out very carefully to make sure that I still had all of them. So those are the final pieces that are soaking. And then over here, this is the actual membrane of the keyboard where when you push a key, that rubber makes contact with these little circles, and then that contact makes an electrical signal back to the controller, which was that green board that you saw already. This is just a metal piece that was sort of sitting in between some of the other pieces, so I can clean that as well, but it's not too bad. Yeah, and then this is one more plastic cover that I'll also clean. So this thing, guys, I can't say anything else about this iMac G4. I can't say anything else about what it's going to do or how well it's going to work, but I can say this: its keyboard is going to be the cleanest keyboard in this apartment. Alright guys, and it is the next morning now. I let all of our keys here dry overnight. We've got the membranes over there inside of the keyboard tray that was also drying overnight. Here we've got our controller board. Hopefully I didn't accidentally splash it with water or anything like that while I was cleaning the plastic off. But at this point, this keyboard, this is going to be the most immaculate keyboard in this apartment, let me tell you. I'm gonna turn on some extra lights here, and at this point we're gonna put this thing back together. I'm very excited to see if it actually works, because my keyboard mechanic skills are not top tier or anything. Let me see. All right, so the first thing we'll need to do, I think, is take the plastic tray with all those membranes in it, and we're gonna need to put the circuit board, or the membrane, back onto here, and then the metal goes on top. And I didn't show this yesterday, but there's actually, I don't want to tilt this too much because the membranes will fall out, but there are a lot of screw holes because there are a lot of screws that actually hold that metal to this plastic with the circuit board in the middle, like you're about to see here. So here is what that board is going to look like, and so that's going to set down so that the gray dots are aligning with those membranes. All right, pretty easy there. Good, and the screw holes also match up so far. So now we've got the metal that we can put on. Now there is one other piece to this equation, the caps lock LED indicator. I assume it's an LED. That actually did fall out of the keyboard when I was taking it apart. And I'm gonna try and put it back in. I'm not 100% sure how it actually connects. Caps lock would be over here on this side. So I think that the LED actually just sticks down into there. Okay, and then these two very small metal contacts, not sure quite how well you can see those, but there's two very just tiny metal prongs sticking out of these black boxes there. And those, I don't think they were soldered on or anything. They just need to make contact with the appropriate pads on this cover, which you can see the two pads right there. Those two gray boxes, so those provide current to that LED when it's supposed to turn on. And then obviously we've got the traces going back to the ribbon cable, which plugs into the controller board. All right, so that is looking pretty good. And then we're gonna put the metal on top of it. I really did not think this was going to be a deep clean keyboard video. We went much more in depth than I was expecting to here. But that's okay, we like to do that here at Nerd on the Street. So that is on. And then we need to put in all these small screws. And there's 3 of them, these 3. You can tell that they use a different type of screw because they've got very small screw holes, whereas the rest of these screw holes have a bit of space around them. So we'll start, I guess, near the middle here, and we'll work our way out. Some of these are going in a little bit easier than others. I'm 99% sure that they're all the same size screw. I compared them once I had them all out, and I couldn't see any visible differences between them. With motherboards and things, you want to kind of be careful to make sure you're not putting the wrong sized screw in, because if you use a screw that's too long, it can puncture things on the board and things like that. But given the relatively simple mechanism of all of this, you know, considering how many pieces it is, most of the pieces are screws and keys. The actual keyboard itself, it's more layers than you'd think, but it's not that complicated, since most of the circuitry is either on that clear board on the inside or on the green board that's still on the outside right now. That's all of the circuitry. Everything else is just mechanical. And I'm trying not to strip these screws here. I do not anticipate myself ever opening this thing up to this length again. Like I said, this is the first time I've done a deep clean of a keyboard. Actually, I guess it's the second time I've attempted it. It's the first time I've gone this far, though, with actually disassembling the entire, every piece that can detach has been detached here. I very rarely do this sort of thing, and it really was because, you know, I have no clue who was using this keyboard before and all of that dirt and stuff inside it. Given the clear plastic and just the design that really accentuates all of the gunk that builds up inside of it. Like I said, this is supposed to be a display piece. It's not something that I'm going to be using as a tool. It's something I'm going to be sort of looking at out of the corner of my eye. So I'd rather not have some stranger's dirt inside of it. I'd very much rather it be clean. And from now on, any dirt that does go inside of it, at least I'll know that it originated here. But yeah, I'm still trying to be careful with the screws just so they don't get too bad, just in case I ever do need to open this thing up again. The membrane with all of that circuitry printed on it, if there's any dirt or water or anything like that still in there, then that could cause shorts, and that if the keyboard doesn't work when I plug it back in, then basically I might have to take all these screws back out and clean that inner piece again. I try not to touch the membrane itself too much. It's not visible. It's got white plastic on one side and metal on the other, so it's not like you actually see that membrane. And I'd rather be more careful with the electronic components, since those are the components that are easier to mess up than the screws and things. But yeah, if I happened to knock any dirt into a critical area, then the keyboard, several keys might press together, or the keyboard might not function at all. And if that's the case, I would probably just forego the keyboard for the time being and finish the video focusing on the computer itself, which we'll get to here. But eventually I'll probably want to open this thing back up to attempt a repair. It's interesting that they use Phillips screws, and these are very small Phillips screws. And I'm using a screwdriver head that is very well sized for the screws, but it's still tricky to sort of make them not strip. But it's interesting they use Torx screws on the outside to make it hard to get the initial pieces off. But once you're in, it's all just Phillips. They don't use more complicated screws on the inside. And I did not bother counting these screws out, but there are an awful lot of them. And all of the obvious screw holes are now filled. I still have 2 screws left, not counting the 3 that have a different type of screw. I guess these 2 holes, screw holes. Did I leave something off here? I think I may have left something off. Yes, there's supposed to be, okay, so there's a brace that goes there. Here's where things get dicey, folks. So these are 2 pieces. I'm not sure where this up arrow came from at all, because this is not a key. It just says up, and I don't know what that's about, where it came from. This, though, this is a cover piece, and I guess it goes like this. There we go. All right. So that we know where it goes. This could not possibly fit in between the different pieces here, so I was correct in what I was doing with putting all the other screws in. So we'll stick that in. Where does this one go? Really not sure. Because there's 3 little screw posts where it looks like a screw could connect from the bottom. But I have no clue. I don't see an arrangement of screw posts in that shape anywhere. And I'm thinking that this one came out of the keyboard before I took the rest of this apart. So I think we're okay. We'll just screw this piece in. And at the end of the day, if I forego a piece or 2 of the keyboard, but I don't notice it, if I don't know where they're supposed to go anyway, then shouldn't be a problem. But let's see. All right, so this is going to be a little bit tricky. I'll just attach a screw to my magnetic screwdriver. Of course, I don't have any sort of assistant, so I'll just have to do this one-handed. All right. I know how to work a screwdriver pretty well, though, so we're good. As I was just talking about how I'm struggling not to strip screws, I'm touting my screwdriver abilities. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's actually kind of neat seeing how all of this is put together. So there's our ribbon cables that are going to connect in here. I'm trying to remember the order that all this came out in. I'm pretty sure at this point, I think I took this out of the keyboard. I don't remember if it was before or after I took the white part out of the clear plastic here, which is going to be our bottom. I think we're going to put, so it should just assemble actually, it should be in order. So let's go ahead and I'll move that membrane out to the side, and we'll go ahead and put this back in. I've cleaned it pretty much as well as I can here. Look how much cleaner this is going to look than all that gunk that was on there before. Very nice. Untangle our USB cord that I kind of pulled through here to assist with the cleaning. And we'll stick that USB cord through the back of the plastic. And we can sort of put the USB cover back in place. Actually, no. The USB cover goes outside of the clear plastic. Like that. Just kind of slide it through there. I could tell because this was so dirty, and there's no way there would have been dirt on this panel if it was inside the clear plastic. So now, I don't remember exactly how the logic board was attached. I see the screws that I used for them. Okay, so USB ports are going to have to face this direction. Okay, so where the cord is already kind of turned here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, let's try and set this white plastic tray all the way in. There we are. All right, so that's how the keyboard's gonna sit. And how is this cable oriented? I'm trying to figure out which direction this circuit board's supposed to be in here, and it seems almost like it's supposed to go in this direction. No? Boy, I really do not want to break this thing. Pull more of that cable through. Here, does it go? Where are the ribbon connectors? Ribbon connectors are down here, and I remember I showed disconnecting the ribbons on video. Okay, there we go. All right, that's how that's supposed to go in. And then the cable pops into those posts like that. Alrighty. Aha, yes, okay. It's all coming back to me now, sort of. So we've got 1, 2, 3 screws to connect, or to attach the logic board to the white plastic. There's 2 screws to attach this back piece from the inside. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've got 6 screws. These are Torx, so those go on the bottom. So I've got 4 plus 3. No, this is 8 screws I'm looking at. Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 screws to it. All right, so there's 4 to attach the logic board to the plastic, plus the 2. Okay. I feel like these were in order for a reason. Let's see. Those are all the same size screw. All right, let me pick one of these up, and we'll see if this fits. And if it does, then we'll use these screws. If it doesn't fit, I'll have to hunt for additional screws on my nice countertop here. It's going in relatively easily. All right, I think I guessed correctly there with which screw to use. Yeah, that fits in securely. So theoretically, since these screws fit, even if they're not the right screws, wherever they were supposed to go, I should have more screws for it anyway. If that makes any sense at all. I not a hardware person in general, as you might be able to tell. So this is number 3, number 4, okay, and then this white plastic cover, we'll slide that back down the cable, which the cable is still dirty, but I can clean that once the thing's put back together. We'll put the cover back. And how was this? Was it like that? Trying to figure out how this cable was routed originally. All right, but that white plastic is in place. Yeah, I think the cable is like that, so that if you pull on this USB cable, you're not actually pulling on the circuit board, because the posts here are going to relieve any sort of strain that you're placing on the cable. And then, yeah, I'm gonna end up with extra screws, which I like to quote another YouTuber and their thoughts on ending up with extra screws after you take something apart and put it back together. That means that you just did it more efficiently than the manufacturer if you end up with extra screws. So that is not a problem at all. All right, still not 100% if that was the right screw size to use. Yeah, I think it was. Okay, and we'll grab another one. And then, yeah, really, I'm keeping my eyes peeled for 2 more screw holes somewhere. All right, those 2 screws are in. nice and snug. So that keeps the white plastic out here. See, the white plastic looks like it's part of that other white plastic piece. It looks like this is connected, but really it's not. It's a separate piece that screws on from the inside. Okay, so we've got 2 more of those longer screws, and then we've got, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put those final 3 screws in the bottom of this thing now, and then we can lay that inside of the case here. Yeah, I know this isn't the most technical video, but I like to get out of my comfort zone every now and then, and you know, I'm learning things right now about how this keyboard works. I had no clue what all the different layers in there looked like, but I bought this computer knowing that I'd make a video about it, and now I do know what it looks like on the inside. All right, so that's all screwed in. Okay, so then we're gonna set this back down, so we should probably put the ribbon cables in first. So they're not, there's no latches here. Normally or a lot of times at least with these ribbon cables, you've got latches that you can sort of flip up. But I'm not seeing that. I'm just seeing these black connectors that we can sort of slide in. Let me bring the camera in, try and get a slightly better angle. Yeah, no, you're probably not going to be able to see some of this. But the important thing is that I'm getting these connectors connected. Let's try the larger one. Not sure why they need 2 ribbon cables. Normally you've got one for data and then one for like the LED backlight, but there's no LED backlight on this thing. There's just the caps lock indicator. Okay, so that larger one is in nicely and securely. The smaller one, I'm getting hair and fuzz near the connectors as I'm working on this now, which is a great sign. And yeah, you guys can't see anything from this angle. I apologize. Give me just a second. There we go. All right, so that's in. And now we fold that up, set the tray back into the white plastic. It needs to be a little bit higher than this. I can move the camera right back where it was so that you can see the full keyboard. It needs to be a little bit higher up. Boy, this is tricky to pick up. There we go. Ah, I see. Crap. All right, just dump this back out. And we'll attempt this one more time. So there's the metal underside that you guys just saw, and then there's the white plastic upper side. I need to slide the metal underneath these tabs. There we go. There we go. All right. And then fold that down. Okay, so here is most of the keyboard. And then there should be, what, was there a top or is this it? I think these just screw in and then the keys go back in. Normally I would expect for there to be a sort of top bezel to a keyboard, but I mentioned earlier how it was striking how there was no bezel. These seams are exposed all the time, and that's part of why dirt can get so deep into this thing, is because you've got these seams exposed with no bezel on top. The keys just hide all these cracks around the edge, you know. And then so if this is the top, I'm so confused what this up is for, because I've got an up arrow key, don't I? It doesn't say up on it, does it? Let's see. Yeah, the arrow keys don't have words, they're just arrows. But I've got an up brace here, and I feel like the up brace went somewhere on the current layer here, because there are no more layers. Where did that go? Where did it come from? There's nothing missing down here. Look how much nicer this keyboard looks. Holy crap. I'll give you guys a better view once it's all put together. So I've got 2 extra screws here, because I believe the only screws holding this piece in, hang on. No, yes, the Torx screws go on from underneath the white plastic, or the clear plastic, so we're good there, right? I see some holes here, but none of them are actually open. They've all got that membrane behind it. I mean, this looks just very similar to this standoff. I guess it's too tall to go with that standoff, really. Yeah, the 3 Torx screws go on the bottom of the keyboard here. Not seeing any other screw holes. Man, this thing is so much cleaner. All right. Okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and forego this piece, whatever it did. And actually, I've got some guides open on my computer anyway. Let me go check one. All right, guys, well, I've checked 2 different iFixit guides for this exact A1048 keyboard, and neither of them mention this up plastic piece. They both mention this faceplate here, neither of them mention this smaller piece, so I'm going to interpret that as meaning that this is not critical and we are going to leave it out. The screws bother me more. There should be 3 screws left over, because there's 3 posts in here, and this is 2 screws that I've got left over, unless I find the 3rd one somewhere later, which I probably will. I'm so confused. All right, but we're just gonna move on. We're gonna put the 3 Torx screws back in from the bottom, then we're gonna pop all the keys back in. Like I said, I'm kind of interested to see if this is gonna work at all. Yeah, you're gonna have to bear with, here, you can tilt the camera, I guess, or pan. Take this Phillips head out of my screwdriver, and I'll put the Torx head back in. All right, so 2 extra screws, so we are more efficient at building equipment than Apple. Or we're just iterating. Iterating with additional knowledge, or lack of knowledge. All right, Torx number 2, there we go. And Torx number 3. I thought I might have to hold the white plastic up to the clear plastic to get those screws in there, but I didn't. Okay, and this thing is, all right, it's feeling solid, which I'm happy about. USB cable going into the sink there, which I don't want in general. Cool. So yeah, looking very nice, feeling nice. So then we pop the keys back in. Some of these are gonna be obvious, such as the space bar. Some of them will be less obvious. I'm gonna wash my hands before I do this, because now they're dirty from the inner parts of the keyboard again, even though I've just cleaned it, and I don't want to get the keys themselves dirty. It occurred to me this almost feels like a cooking show. We're in my kitchen dealing with ingredients, but we're not going to eat anything. And I noticed on these keys, now that I had them taken off of the keyboard, that there is sort of a gray line at the bottom of every key. So the entire key is not white. There's sort of an accent on the bottom, which is neat. So I think we can slide the metal in, yes, and then we pivot the key down. Okay, and it doesn't feel super solid. Is there a better way? I feel like I did that wrong. Hang on. Well, maybe I didn't do it wrong. Oh, there we go. Yeah, once I put it in, it wasn't wanting to come back out. You don't want to break these clips on the bottom, because that'll just lead to problems. But is the metal supposed to go this way? Maybe it's supposed to go so that the metal bits on the top. Yeah, that feels more solid. That feels a lot more solid, sounds more solid. Still kind of loose because it's the only key in the keyboard. But I guess the larger end is supposed to be at the top, or the taller end. We'll confirm that, I guess, with the other keys we're about to put on. All right, so Apple key goes right next to the Command key. Apple key goes to the left. I'm not familiar with Apple keyboards, so just had to go and reference. Even though I've got an Apple keyboard on my desk, I still referenced a photo of this particular Apple keyboard. Okay. Yeah, and those keys line up. I can hit this key from either edge, even though you saw there's only one membrane point in the middle where it actually makes contact, but the metal brace allows me to hit either side of the key. So we've got Alt and then the larger Control. So here's an Alt. We've got 2 Alts, and they look like they're the same size. So we'll choose one arbitrarily to put here, okay? And then the larger of the 2 control keys. So the control keys are slightly separate, or slightly different sizes. And we're gonna want the control key here that is rounded at the bottom left. So if we try and put this control key in, yeah, it's gonna sort of hit the plastic. So we want the one that is rounded so that it doesn't hit the plastic edge of the keyboard. There we go. And at this point, you're watching me put keys on a keyboard. Hopefully this is entertaining for some of you guys. And on the other side, it's symmetrical. It goes Option key. Do I have another Option key? I don't think I have another Option key. All right, so yes I do, okay. Or another Apple key, Command key, whatever they're called on Macs. It's the Super key, Meta key. All right, and then Option and Control. Okay. Yeah, and both the guides that I'm looking at are using European keyboards, so that's not gonna match 100%. There's supposed to be a shift key here. I think it's the shorter shift key, because the longer one goes over here. Yeah, that looks right. So once again, so the plastic, or the metal, this brace swings out. And so you want the part that's attached to the key at the top, and then we slide the arms into place, and then we set the key down like that. All right. Put the shift key on the other side in just to make sure we're on the right track with everything. And that one's stuck. Okay. So that would probably be a membrane that I messed up. Yeah, see, it pushes down and it doesn't pop back up. So that membrane, some of those membranes felt like they were kind of falling apart. Let me try, oh boy, did I just, oh, there we go. No, it was some other problem, I guess. Okay, not sure what that was. Where's my, here. Here's a flat metal object. I want to pop that off. I want to give that another shot. I'm not confident in that key right now. It's really not wanting to come off though. There we go. Oh boy, all right. Yeah, so see the metal has come out of the plastic, which is never a good thing. With keys, oh, I can just pop it back in though. Okay, yeah, we're all right. So, yeah, I'm very glad it's a problem with the bracket and not the membrane in there, because I do not want to take all those screws back out again. Okay, all right, there we go, it's working now. Nice, just an alignment issue with that metal brace. So we're gonna need the caps lock key on the side. I think the guide said to start in the middle and work your way out, but I'm gonna find it easier to do it this way. And you can see the caps lock LED poking out there where we set it down on the inside. Okay, and then tab, here we go. I was looking for an arrow, it just says the word tab. No arrow. Man, some of these are difficult to get in. There we go. Okay, and now I wanted to get up to the tab key because now we can start going through QWERTY. So Q, I really hope I don't mess QWERTY up on video here. W. It is gonna be so disappointing if after all of this work, like the keyboard just doesn't function anymore. I think I need to swap my SD card. All right, guys, I've emptied out the SD card, so we've got some more space to record, and I've finished putting all of the keys back in the keyboard. Guys, look how beautiful this is. I've done a little bit of cleaning on the cable as well. This is just night and day. Like, I'm really glad I did that. Look at that. We can look at the bottom of the keyboard. No dead flies in there, no dirt, no hairballs or anything. Whatever else was down there before, it's all gone, because we completely, I have to say, we went above and beyond with the overhaul on cleaning this keyboard. I normally do not go that far for peripherals, but I did today. Look how much cleaner the underside is too, since all the dirt's out of there. So now we've got this beautiful Apple keyboard. It's gonna look great sitting on a counter or a table or wherever it goes. It's really pretty proud of that. All right. And all the keys are back on. You can see they're all nice and light. Some of them still have a little bit of, smudges and things on them that I wasn't able to get off easily, but yeah, it's typing fairly well for such an old keyboard. I'm not saying that these keys are the most clicky keys in the world, but this is certainly workable. So very excited about that. And at this point, the iMac itself, I've been cleaning it off and on as well. I've got a microfiber cloth here. I did set it down just to check out what the bottom looked like. I have not opened it up yet. We will probably need to open up because, like I said, it doesn't boot right now. Right now, it does not boot. But with that in mind, I want to see what it does do. Let me turn my camera so I can actually see what the angle looks like for you guys. All right, that's pretty good. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug this thing in. I want to know where we stand with this. I'm not expecting it to work. If it does work, that would be a pleasant surprise, of course. But I want to see what it does. I want to see if we at least have power. Or if we don't get power at all, that's a bigger issue. But I'm expecting us to get power. I'm expecting the screen to turn on. I want to see what icon appears. Oh, one other thing. This machine does have USB 1.0. The 1.25 gigahertz version, I believe, was the version that added USB 2.0 with the iMac G4s. Since this was the second to last version for the 17-inch, the 1 gigahertz, I'm pretty sure these USB ports are 1.0 is what I read a little bit earlier. So I've plugged the keyboard into the machine, I plugged the mouse into the keyboard. I do have the power cable here that I will still clean up individually later. But right now, let's plug this thing in. Interesting how they pulled off ports on a rounded device back here. We're going to plug power into the wall. There we are. And at this point, I'm so excited to see what we have here. Here, I'll just center this. Where's our power button? It's back here, so I pushed the power button. I hear fans, and I see fans as well. There's a very large fan on the inside of the base that pushes air up and out of the grill here. Okay, we've got a screen, we've got display. It's at least powered. Obviously nothing on the screen yet, but I can see that the screen is turned on. Might be hard to see in the video with some of the glare. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the extra lights now. Since we are looking at a screen, we're not gonna want that glare. There is a little bit of backlight bleed near the bottom corners of the screen. I wasn't expecting it to be perfect, of course. Now, do we get any sort of... I didn't hear a bong, which you normally hear that Apple, the chime, when you turn a Mac on. So I'm really hoping this is just a drive issue. Normally, though, if it was just a drive issue, we would have heard a bong, and we would see some sort of indication that the firmware is trying to boot, which we're not seeing right now. Could also be bad RAM. That would be another simpler thing if it's not posting for whatever reason. I am just going to look up what the key combination is to reset the firmware, because I believe there is a key combination for that. I don't think we actually have to pull the CMOS battery out. Alright, so Option Command PR, and that's coming from Apple's website, so I'm not sure if that's for Intel Macs or PowerPC, but it won't hurt to try. I'm holding down the power button right now to turn this thing off. Glad that we can at least see the screen's working. Alright, so I'll turn it on. Command Option PR. So we're holding that down. Yeah, fan's definitely on. I can hear it doing something. I don't know if that's just the fan I'm hearing or if I'm hearing a hard drive attempt to spin up. We're definitely going to have to open this thing up in a few minutes. The page I was just reading said if there's no RAM installed that should beep a couple times, but once again that's current day Macs, so this one might not do that. It almost sounds like the optical drive's trying to kick in. Yeah, the optical drive is definitely trying to do something. I'm still holding down Command Option PR for resetting the firmware memory. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop holding that down now, and we'll see if we get any further. I think there are built-in speakers on this thing. I might be mistaken though. I'm almost positive there are, but I know they sold external speakers, which would be strange if there were built-in speakers. Alright, so yeah, once I let go of the keys, so I think that resetting was working, or at least the key combination was attempting to do something because it was preventing the screen from turning on, which we could see the screen's turned on now. Oh, hello. When I hit the escape key, I'm pretty sure that screen got brighter. Not sure what that was. Yeah, it's the NVRAM I was trying to reset. Here we go, we've got an Apple logo. Alright, so hey, I'm not a Mac expert, but resetting the NVRAM does sometimes do things. So we do have an Apple logo. That would be amazing if it actually booted now, if whatever drive was left in there, because like I said, the seller told me it didn't boot, but that the drive might be bad. I wouldn't even expect an Apple logo, although that might be coming from the firmware, actually, so the drive might still be bad. But an Apple logo means we're getting pretty far. I do think there's no speakers in here. That's a shame. I wonder, I'll have to see if I can find some Apple speakers separately, because like I said, I saw some listings that included the keyboard, mouse, and the speakers with the computer, This one didn't include the speakers, but it included the box, which I thought the box would be neat to have, although it's going to take up unnecessary space. I might have to get rid of it eventually, but the speakers, I thought there were speakers built in. Knowing that there aren't speakers built in, I should have done more research, I guess. I normally do. Like I said, this was completely on a whim. I was shopping for HP laptops, and I just happened to Google iMac G4s at the same time, or to eBay search. All right, well, this is great because we do have an Apple logo at least. So, boy, I've got headphones. I don't think I have any loudspeakers in this apartment. I would expect some sort of no drive icon to show up eventually, if that's truly the issue. Well, there was a 20-inch version of the iMac G4 at some point. I'd forgotten about that. It must have been pretty rare though, because the 17-inch was less common than the 15. All right, so Command S should get us into safe mode. Otherwise, it's not going to show the splash screen. So Command S, let's see if we can get some output here. Because if it's trying to boot and it's a software issue, that would be even better than a dead drive. Although I would probably want to put an SSD in here if that's possible anyway. So holding down Command S for no splash screen. That fan is very quiet, and it's huge. I can see it spinning around in that large base. So now we're not getting an Apple logo at all. Maybe it's an intermittent drive issue. We might have the best luck if we just ditch the drive. Does this have IDE or SATA? If it's SATA, it's going to be so much easier. So this was introduced February of 2003 and discontinued September of 2003. So that's the time span that we're looking at. I've got IDE hard drives. I've got plenty of IDE hard drives, but not here. Storage interface Ultra ATA 100. Fairly certain that is, and it's 3.5 inch too. Yeah, that would be IDE. All right, well, I may have to have some family ship me one of my IDE drives from St. Louis sometime soon, if that's the issue. I don't know why I thought this would have SATA, knowing that it's such an old machine. But yeah, Command S is not really doing anything for us. So I'm gonna turn this off, and yeah, I'm gonna see what hardware I have. If I have an IDE drive, I'm really not sure. I don't think I have one here in Denver. Such a pain living in a different city from where all your stuff is in. All right, well, I'll take inventory, I'll see what I've got, and I'll see if I can get this any further as well. All right, guys, so I did take a little bit of a look around my apartment. I don't think I have any IDE drives around here. It's a pretty small apartment, it's one bedroom. Haven't found any IDE drives yet. And I don't know why I would have taken one here, because it just would have been taking up space, because before this thing got into my apartment here, I had no machines that used IDE. You know, I've got a lot of computers in here, I've got laptops, I've got desktops, but they all are from the last 10 years or so, and so they all use SATA. Now, I did discover this, the iMac, if I hold down Option, this is the screen that is supposed to let you select a boot device. I'm very happy I'm seeing this screen, because I saw some people online saying that a white screen, just a solid gray or white screen like we were seeing earlier, can be a sign that the LCD panel's circuitry is actually bad. It wouldn't be a problem with the panel itself, but the LCD controller apparently had some soldering issues on certain models, and those have failed over the years for some people. And that can be a reason why you're getting a white or gray solid screen. Now, we saw the Apple logo once, which is why I was fairly sure that the LCD screen did work, but once again, it could always be something intermittent where sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But this is great because I held down Option and we've got a mouse cursor that I can actually move around. Oh, scratch that, mouse cursor is actually frozen. But as you can see, we've got an image. You saw me move the mouse a moment ago. We've got a refresh icon and a forward icon. Now, like I said, this is supposed to let me choose the boot device. There are no devices here. I am very happy because I'm 99% certain that this is just a problem with the drive. If we've got a drive that is failing, then, or that it has already failed, you know, that could be why. It would explain why we saw the Apple logo, because it started to spin up and started to load the OS, but then got stuck because it couldn't read all the files properly. We tried to access our list of boot drives, and you can see there's no hard drive listed because it's not able to be read properly, but the system is going to continue trying to read it, and then eventually it runs into a larger problem and it stops and just freezes. So I'm actually very happy with the current state of things, because I do think that it is the hard drive. So I'm going to open this thing up now. Let's take a look inside of it. and let's see what we can find out in terms of what kind of drive it actually has in it right now and what I can do about fixing it. I might actually have a laptop IDE drive, but this would be a 3.5-inch desktop drive. So we are going to set the mouse and keyboard off to the side. I'm going to throw down a microfiber cloth here, and I'll zoom back out again. All right, and we will unplug the power from the back of the machine, since we'll be opening it up. Oh, that is a very snug cable. Unplug the USB as well. And I've set this down once so far. I didn't actually open it up, but I did set it down just to see sort of what the strategy is for doing that. So we're gonna set the screen down on the microfiber cloth, and then the base also just sets down. Not 100% happy with how the weight's distributed there, but this is what we're dealing with here. So we've got 4 Phillips screws. Those should be nice and easy to take off. Alright, and so let me grab a screwdriver again. Okay, so we're going to unscrew these 4 Phillips screws. I wasn't sure if I need any screwdriver to open this thing up. Evidently I do, but that's okay. And I am expecting the inside of this thing to be fairly dirty, just as a fair warning, given how dirty the keyboard was. And I can see dust, inside the fan grills. The machine itself, I mean, even the base had a lot of gunk on it. It looks like these screws are sort of held in by springs. So you unscrew them, but the screws do not fall away from the plate. They just float there, which is handy because that way you don't lose them. Especially good for screws that are facing the ground, like these would normally be when the machine is stood upright. Okay, so there's our 4 screws. Let's go ahead and, what is the situation with this? Alright, so after reviewing some video, this thing, it doesn't twist or anything like that. It just pulls right out. There we go. It's actually pretty easy when you know what to do. And there's some foam coming out. I don't know if that's, it almost seems like Velcro. Not sure if that was supposed to come off there. You can see this strip of whatever it is, just sort of padding, it seems like. Well, I'll set that base off to the side. Here we've got the 2 things that we've got just accessible immediately. We've got RAM, and we've got the Airport Extreme card. There's a little bit of cobweb there. Let me get some more paper towel to clean that up. And I actually did not know there was an Airport Extreme card in here. I do prefer to use wired networking whenever I can over wireless. That Airport Extreme card has some dirt on it. Don't know how that happens. Okay, but yeah, there is an Airport Extreme card in there, so whatever I end up using this thing for, it probably won't need internet access all that often, but it might be handy to have network access, streaming music from my main computer, instead of having to store it on this machine itself or be able to put stuff onto this machine easily. So yeah, it'll be nice to be able to connect wirelessly since that Airport card is there. And I see this is a wire going to an antenna somewhere in the machine. And then we've got RAM over here. Like I said, let's pop that out just to see what we've got in here. There we go. This is DDR2100 512 megabyte stick. So we've got half a gigabyte of RAM in here. I think the maximum is 1 gigabyte. So we'll stick that back in. Alright, and to get to the hard drive, you can see there's no hard drive here. It was very easy to get to these 2 things. The rest of the machine, not quite as accessible, but we can unscrew these 4 Torx screws, and then we can pull more of this base apart to get inside to the hard drive. And more dirt's probably going to fall out when we do that. So this is a much larger Torx head than we had on the bottom of the machine. We've got more cobweb I'm seeing now. Just absolutely very, very dirty machine. Like I said, I would assume it was sitting in a garage. Alright, my largest Torx head is not big enough for these screws, which is a shame. Let's see, do I have anything bigger? Check my kit here. Okay, here's one. Got a triangle screwdriver bit here, and not sure if the camera's going to focus on that, but take my word for it, it's triangle, and it's not the Torx shape, but it does work. Awesome. So I can go ahead, because the torque shape looks like two triangles overlaid. You know, one triangle and then another triangle sort of turned on top of it. So that's easy. And so the entire section with the ports and everything will come off of the bottom of the computer once we finish unscrewing these. And these are much longer screws. You can see, yeah, see, look how long that screw is, because it sticks, like I said, quite a ways in there. Very interesting that they made sure the network card was serviceable. They made sure the RAM was serviceable, but the storage drive, nah, those never fail. We don't need serviceable storage drives in Macs. I would venture a guess that storage drives fail more often than RAM. Personally, although I've seen a lot of failing RAM, that can definitely happen. I wonder if they make IDE SSDs. Probably not. Like I said, I was planning to put an SSD into this thing, but not going to be possible if all we've got is IDE unless I find some sort of adapter. I'm going to need something though, because by golly, this machine is too beautiful to not run at all. Alright, so those 4 screws are off. I can now pull the, here, I want to get a better camera angle. I don't want to turn this though. So let me, alright, little bit better angle. We're just going to pull this whole section with ports away from the machine. Okay. And yeah, that's a lot of dust. All right. You know, I've got a vacuum out in my car. I'm going to go grab it. And technically, it's not great to use regular old handheld vacuums like that on computers. They make anti-static vacuums because regular ones like this can create electromagnetic or electrostatic buildup and can shock things and break things. But personally, I've never broken anything that I'm aware of using that vacuum on a computer. So taking a closer look in here, now that we've got the larger clumps of dust out of the way, there is another RAM stick in here that you can sort of see. I'm gonna go in handheld again, because why not? So right here you see we've got a larger RAM stick. This one says it is, let's see, 256 megabytes, as you can see right there. So interesting that they use SODIMM RAM on the bottom, and then they've got a full DIMM up here on top. We've got some sort of heat sink over probably a processor / GPU. If I had to guess what this is, probably the display connector. Just to guess though, oh no, that's going to the power supply, because that's right where that power cable is. That's why I said it was just a guess. We've got our optical drive right there, and I think the hard drive is stuck up there on top of the optical drive. They've got both of the drives sitting one on top of another. You can see the IDE cable going to the DVD drive here, and then it's not in a master-slave configuration like IDE drives can be in. Instead, it is plugged in to the right side here for the DVD drive, and then there's a separate port right on the motherboard on the left side that is going up to the hard drive that I can see stickers on the side of it back there. That would be the hard drive up there. So we've got to get this thing open. I'm going to wipe some of the dust off of the RAM here. Paper towel is probably not the best tool for that, but we've got a large CMOS battery, or I guess PRAM, whatever they call it in these older Macs. And we've got that same torque screw holding in a lot of these other parts. So let me zoom in again for you guys. So yeah, same torque screw is holding in the drive cage here, and then we do have, oh, it looks like it is a smaller Torx and not Phillips, actually holding the drives into the cage as well, which is interesting. So we are gonna open this up. I'm pretty happy with how easy this is to service. I know it doesn't look super serviceable, but the only thing I had to look up so far in terms of servicing was how to pull that bottom panel off, just to make sure it didn't have to twist or anything. And I am flying blind right now, so take that for what you will. There's another screw out. And I think there are 2 more screws on the other side, I believe. Or are there not? I think there are. Oh, there's some down here on the bottom. I see. Yeah, I'm gonna try to leave as much plugged in as possible here. I don't want to deal with figuring out where everything plugs in later if I completely disassemble the thing. So for instance, it would probably help to have these power cables out of the way, but don't want to deal with that on the flip side when we're putting things back together. So I'm going to try and leave them where they're at, if at all possible. That unscrews just a little bit more. There we go. And I'm losing screws. Alright, we'll find that one later. Yeah, so there are 6 screws holding the drive cage in, 2 on each side, and then 2 on the bottom there that you guys can probably see better than the rest of them. So once we pop those off, this drive cage should come off fairly easily. And those bottom screws are shorter. All right, there we go. Okay, so now the whole drive cage can come out. I'm gonna try and keep that foil on the bottom attached. Oh, what's holding you in now? Okay, this is starting to come out. I only need it as far out as it needs to go to get that drive out of there and to pop a new drive in once I acquire one. Here we go. Boy. Alright. More dust. Found that screw that I dropped earlier. And here's the IDE drive. It is a Seagate drive. I can see underneath the white covering, I see a Seagate logo there. So if you're wondering why it failed, Seagate drives are prone to fail. In my personal experience, I've had one of my own main computer's drives fail in my lifetime so far, and it was a Seagate drive. So we are going to, let's see, how does this come out? This is in an additional bracket, it seems like. It almost seems like I need to take the optical drive out in order to replace the hard drive, which is a pain in the butt, but I can do that. So we're just going to, over here, back here in the back, well, it's facing away from you, but I'm unplugging the IDE power cable and data cable, or trying to at least. Alright, data cable came out very easily. Power is really in there. Let's unplug data from the hard drive. There's a Foxconn label on the IDE cable there. I see the Panaflow fan that's in there that I saw from outside earlier. It is still very quiet despite years of use and the dusty conditions, so no complaints about the fan they picked. Alright, hard drive power cable is out. Looks like there's more cables. There's actually, it looks like the Wi-Fi antenna is routed through a little clip on the side of this drive enclosure. No clue why they did that. I just need to get this hard drive out of the cage, but I can see the screws are underneath there, holding that drive in place. So we need to, I think we need to get the optical drive out first. Alright, I went and referenced another video online, and my eyes were deceiving me. We can actually pull the covering off of this drive. Why did they just stick a blank white sticker over the hard drive? It doesn't, I mean, it kept the hard drive nice and clean, but it's not like it would have improved airflow. Because yeah, I mean, I can try and stick this label onto the new drive, but I mean, there's nothing written on there. It's not like this is a conductive, I mean, it is a conductive surface, but I don't know, it seems like it's not serving any purpose whatsoever. It seems like it would inhibit heat transfer, but maybe it's some kind of special heat transferring sticker. I don't know, I'm trying to set that off to the side. But now, in here, the screws are on the sides where we can access them. They're not on the bottom like I thought they might have been. And it is the same Torx screw holding the drive in place. So this is an 80 gigabyte Seagate Barracuda drive that's in here. So it's only 80 gigabytes, however much this machine's been used, the smaller the drive is, the more it would have been worn down as the bits were overwritten over and over and over again. That's a tough screw, had to get started there. And this does have an Apple logo on it, so it is the original Apple drive from about 17 years ago. I said 2003 was when this thing was around, right? Pretty sure that's what I read off earlier. So 17-year-old 80 gigabyte hard drive. Understandable that it would just be dead. Not optimal, but understandable at least. So we've unscrewed all 4 of those screws. We can just lift this old drive out. So here I think this is the culprit. Everything that we've seen so far in my experience with computers seems to be pointing to a bad drive, or at least could be explained by a bad drive. Obviously, there could be problems with the graphics and the display and the RAM and everything else too, but it seems like the drive is bad. Oh wow, look at that. This is the current Seagate logo that they still use today that was printed on here 13 years ago. And there should be a date on here usually too, right? I don't see a date written anywhere. Normally hard drives have dates written on them, but since this one's an Apple OEM drive, that might not have been included in their custom label that they had printed. S2ATA. It looks like it says SATA, but it's not. It is definitely an IDE drive, as you can see there. And yeah, this is very interesting. I've never seen that Seagate logo before. Some of my older audience might recognize that, but I am used to this one. So interesting that they have both printed on there. Still looking around for a date just because I'm curious when this thing was manufactured, but I do not see one. I do see more dust though. So we're going to set that off to the side. Now, we need an IDE drive to put in here. This is where we're going to have to pause, and I'm either going to have to... I don't want to buy a new IDE drive because it's not like you use them for anything. And the thing is, I know I have plenty of extras at home back in St. Louis, but obviously I can't just hop in the car. I mean, I don't work tomorrow since it's Labor Day. I guess I could drive for 12 hours there, get a drive, and drive 12 hours back. But that would not be very pleasant, because that would be 24 hours of driving in the middle of the summer. And that would also cost me some gas money. So not wanting to do that right now, but also not sure if I have an IDE drive anywhere in this apartment. I'll look a little bit more. There's a couple boxes I haven't dug all the way into yet. But for now, we're gonna have to pause with things sat right here. It looks like I don't have any wires really being smushed or anything like that. I see the antenna wire. It looks like there are two antennas. It looks like there are wires at least for two antennas, but only one of them's connected to that card like we saw. Very interesting design. Obviously, it's hard to put a computer in a circle. You know, computers, all the components, RAM is rectangular, hard drives are rectangular, even though the hard drive platters are round, the drives themselves are rectangular. So when you put a computer into a circle, you're going to be making compromises and wasting a little bit of space. And they do have a custom motherboard at the bottom here to help accomplish that. Yeah, the person in the video that I saw just unplugged everything. And I don't want to unplug everything. I do want to, there we go. All right, so this is sitting, I just turned the base of the computer a little bit, and now it's not hanging on those wires anymore, so that feels more sturdy. Okay, I will be back when I find an IDE drive to pop into this thing.